Hey folks, this is Karen Trepte from Guiding Works, coaching your productivity coach. I'm here to introduce another fabulous female entrepreneur named Tammy Leitzel. I'm going to look at my phone for 2 seconds and read this first sentence because I couldn't memorize it. So, Tammy Leitzel is the founder of Femessence, the mentorship program that helps women reclaim their unique feminine essence and unleash their power, playfulness, and self-confidence so they have the courage to create the life of their dreams. And from here on out, no more phone, no more notes. We've got an informal tea conversation going on. So wait until you meet Tammy. I'm going to let her introduce herself more and hear some of her stories. So go for it, Tammy.
Hi, everyone. First off, just thank you for having me, Karen. It's great to speak with you again. I just look forward every time we talk. And hello to everyone out there. Let me tell you, a 45-year-old mom here, 3 kids, 11, 10, and 8, raised in an oppressive culture. My family was Mennonite. And while some people adore that, my personality was not so keen on the patriarchy. I managed to get away, went to college, the first in my family to do so, and enjoyed college, but I wasn't triggered too much during college. I just did my studies. It was after I got my first job and moved to the big city of Philadelphia that I felt a very familiar feeling, although I didn't realize it was familiar. What I was experiencing was the feeling of shame. And it was when I would experience other women walking down the street with low-cut shirts or mini skirts or just having a great time, especially if they were in groups and expressing their sensuality. Well, what I learned over time was that I, in fact, had been shamed at a very young age for just being me, for being a girl. And that all came crashing back to me. So this journey, what I call my Femessence, were the steps that I took to get back to feeling a sense of feminine self-pride. In fact, just feeling like I had the right to exist in this world. So that's what I'd love to talk about today.
Wow. Well, let's definitely do. Don't the Mennonites have some awfully good food, by the way?
Oh, yes. And that's why I still go back and visit often.
Good. So, are you working then with other women who are working to restore, or feel good about their bodies, themselves, just being a girl, basically?
Yes. Finding your voice is a big one. The other piece of the puzzle is being comfortable with your own body. There's a few pockets where we as women shut down out of fear, shame, or embarrassment. And it's interesting. Sometimes it's younger women in their 20s, and they just they're like, I don't even know who I am. And this helps explore the edges of your boundaries so that you can start to define yourself and say, okay, I'm a woman who believes X, Y, and Z. And then it allows them to make better decisions about how they want to pursue their lives. But often I find that I experience women who are going through some sort of a transition in life. So they've been living life for a while, and all of a sudden something gets derailed. So divorce, loss of a spouse, children, and they suddenly wake up one day and the children are grown and they're like, what is my role in the world now? Right. That's the people that I tend to work with the most.
Yeah, I think a lot of us, okay, not all of us, but a lot of us are raised, me too, as caregivers.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's definitely an interesting journey. Not to get off on too much of a tangent here, but Carol Tuttle talks about different energy types. She's an energy healer. Maybe she'll be on our interview show, one day. I don't know. But she talks about these different energy types. And so for myself, I'll just share, I am a 1-2, which means like really outgoing and love people and kind of random. And I am extemporaneous, spontaneous, all of that. And then I have the 2 side of me, which I love too, which is like really soft and likes comfortable. But it's very much in tune with how I grew up in Tokyo, Japan, which is all about the male being the primary. And so when I first studied with her, I mean, not physically with her or even virtually with her, but just looking at her stuff, I had it reversed. I thought I was a 2-1, which is like the soft side first and then the 1 underneath. And I love reading her stuff. It's so in line in kind of what you're teaching, because when I discovered, I went there, got my hair cut, and they confirmed that I'm really a 1-2, which is what my daughter had said to me. Then I'm starting to explore, like, okay, well, why am I putting that sort of subservient side first?
Exactly.
Which would be the 2.
Right.
And so it's been, just to share that with you, I mean, it's been a journey to me, and now I've switched over my colors and my everything. Like, okay, it's time for me to acknowledge my 1-2 and a little bit bolder, and to think about, okay, well, what situations am I, like maybe with my husband, I'll reveal that. I mean, with my husband, like, okay, I'm coming out more with my 2 than I am with my 1 sometimes. So I think your work's really valuable, Tammy.
Well, that's part of exactly what we explore. I think of almost every behavior as a spectrum. And we, especially as women, we sort of tend to get cast into one part that's safe or okay.
Definitely safe for me to go back into that Japanese frame of mind. So safe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the easiest way to think about this is sensuality. The sensuality piece is really on a spectrum with a very narrow slice that we're allowed to have, yeah. Which is often in a marriage with one committed partner. Yeah. But the truth is, on Sundays, I'm going to go a little bit farther to the right, and be conservative. But when I'm out with girlfriends on a girls' night out or on a date, maybe I'm going to go a little bit farther to the left, a pair of sexy boots or just a different walk about myself than what I'm going to have in a business meeting. And what we need to be able to do is explore that in a safe way with other women. In fact, go a little beyond our edges so that we can then say, oh, okay, I tried that and this is where I reside. And it's a little bit, the confidence comes with knowing where you are. And here's the upside that happened for me when I explored that part of myself. I had, unbeknownst to me, a whole lot of judgment that I was holding against myself. So I would see women that I was like, I'm not like you at all. I don't like you. I don't want to be like you. I'm actually thinking of professional strippers right here is what's coming to my mind. And when I actually took a lesson from a professional stripper, and she said to me, it's okay to move your body in any way you want to move your body. It was an epiphany for me, because I thought to myself, that's exactly what I would want my mother to have said to me. And here I'm learning that from a woman who I judged the minute I walked in the door. And what it did was it allowed me to say, it's okay that other people have different forms of expression. And that means it's okay for me too.
Yeah.
So that's the joy I would like to bring to other women. I would like to say, I know it's scary, but let's check stuff out, especially the stuff that scares you, because I would bet that we could find some area in there that you're comfortable with. And if you're not comfortable with it, you have more of a confidence to say, just not for me. But if it's for you, that's okay too.
Yeah.
And that's a powerful place to be, instead of immediately putting up the walls.
Yeah, that's a really powerful place to be, to let people have their own different standards. I mean, I've reflected several times in my life, like back when I was a young teenage girl and we went on vacation to Saipan and we were on the beach and I was feeling kind of pretty hot. I was 13 or something. And I remember my father saying to me with that bathing suit on, don't strut.
Right.
Like, so that was a powerful message to me. Sorry about my
Oh, it's okay.
internet stuff. And that was a powerful message, like, yeah. So that shut down a lot of that.
Exactly. But that highlights why, you know, and he was trying to be helpful to you. He was trying to save you from embarrassment or from other people.
I love my dad. Yeah.
That's exactly why we need to do that kind of exploration in the safety of other women.
Yeah.
Because you could have like strutted your stuff and actually had us supporting you and saying, you look fantastic, you look great. And you could have absorbed some of that feeling of pride and then carried that forward to the other parts of your life.
Yeah.
So, and you still can today.
That's awesome. Well, I've grown up through the 60s, so, you know,
you explored.
we've done some exploration. But I am in that kind of really, I feel good about it space of like, okay, this is how I feel. I'm probably more conservative than, you know, other people, for sure. But that's what I choose. So I feel good about that. And I also feel like, okay, this is what you're doing.
So you are embodying your form of Femessence. It's your unique essence. You've explored those edges through all the teachings, because I know you're introspective. Yeah. And not every woman, though, has the tools to do that. And that's where in the program, I try to bring different mentors. Like, I'm just one of the many that women who have walked through some sort of situation that wasn't serving them well. And we look at their behaviors and we say, okay, what did they do to get to the other side? Because we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
And then as a group, we tried to incrementally make small changes. Like today, I walked into a coffee shop with my head held high and it felt good.
Yeah.
And like that alone, and then once someone has tried something on like that for size and had seen the benefits of it or the joy of it, then they can start to put that in other areas of their lives.
Yes.
And it's fun and easy. It's 7 simple steps, and it's just meant to just empower you over and over and over again. You start to realize, okay, this is the core of who I am, but now I found an area where I'm resistant. I'm going to figure out a way with strong female mentors how to get past it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to empower myself.
I love that.
My life, and dag nabbit, it happens again. And that's okay, because I know how to figure it out now.
Yeah. I love that, Tammy. And I love that you give them little baby steps. Like, you're not asking women to go out there and be a stripper or anything.
No. I did the hard work for you. You don't have to.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right. Because even in Japan, I mean, and you'll see it in the Asian culture, you'll see women are actually taught to walk like behind the men a few paces. Mm-hmm. And when you see things around you in your culture, you just get used to them and like, okay. And it doesn't become a big deal. And I guess what I want to say in this interview too is that for any of those who might be really on the conservative spectrum, because I feel very strongly about this, like having worked in the Middle East and, you know, met some of those beautiful women over there. Mm-hmm. It's just sending you guys love, because I think there's too many messages that aren't love about that.
Yeah.
And you know, it is a woman's right, I believe, to be on either spectrum, but I think it's equally important that we really honor those women that choose, you know, that path that is right for them for right now.
Safety first. It's always about safety first. And I would definitely say to a woman who's in a place where they're not comfortable with big or overt steps, mm-hmm. that you can do a lot of this work in a mirror to yourself.
Yes, that's sweet.
And if you can just even change your own opinion about yourself or come about life with a better sense of power in the small decisions that we have to make every single day, that alone can improve your life dramatically.
Yeah.
You know it. You've seen it. Small shifts can just create a ripple effect, like in a pond, and create big change over time.
Yeah. I mean, the women in Qatar, they drive.
Right.
And my daughter and I, when we were over there, we were noticing, like, I hope nobody laughs, but I understand. I mean, if you haven't been exposed to different cultures, it's understandable. But for this particular culture, like, the abaya is the covering. Like, it's not the whole covering of the face, but it's just you wearing like a black robe, like kind of a nun would.
Okay.
And before we left, my daughter told me, she goes, Mom, those black abayas are coming in the shops with some white stripes. So, women all over the world like this expression. And boy, if you see what those women wear underneath those black robes,
right. They find their way to be expressed. And that's what we're really honoring.
They are decked to the nines with high heels and woo, the makeup's so loud.
You would have no clue. I love how world educated you are, worldly you are. You're just amazing. I feel sheltered having talked, having more conversations with you.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Yeah, let's do more. So let's think about it. So you've pretty well clarified like which women you want to come to you if they desire to do so, to be mentored and to be their friend and work with them and coach them. You talked about walking into the coffee shop with your head held high.
Or anywhere.
That's really cool. And I guess that's where, for that particular thing, like, I have traveled a lot. I have been in a lot of different cultures. So I don't recommend that like in New York City. But if you go to Colorado, which is where I used to spend my summers, my kids were so surprised. I mean, people will actually greet you and smile at you. So it's interesting, the different cultures, like what's appropriate in one culture that's maybe more populated is not appropriate in another one.
Yes, you need to be self-aware. And that's that comes back again to what I was saying about knowing when to be able to pull out your bag of tricks.
Yeah, and safety.
Yes, exactly. It's about knowing, because one of the things I like to emphasize is finding your wow factor. Like when you walk in a room and heads turn, and it's not necessarily about your outward beauty. You and I both know it's about what you're projecting into the world. That's your wow factor. And when you carry yourself or present yourself in that manner, when you're fascinating to someone, it's an opportunity because it stops them from their judgments. It makes them pay attention to you. And what I found is it's an opening where what you're saying can be heard more readily. So when I talk about purpose and power and passion throughout my program, that's really what I'm talking about. I don't think that we've trained ourselves as women to get ourselves into a place of power. And it doesn't have to, it's not the traditional male power. I want this done now in this way, shape, or form. Yeah. No, we can have a power that has a playfulness to it.
Yes.
And that, when I see other women that are in their femessence, that's what I call it. That when you're powerful, but also vulnerable and playful at the same time, you've nailed down female power. That's what I would love, a world full of women like that, because I think we'll really get a lot done. And one of the things, when you start stepping up into your own power, you don't leave behind the people you love, all those people that you've been taking care of all that time. That doesn't change, because we are empathetic, we are loving, we are caring. Once you empower yourself, the others just benefit. They might be scared at first, like, Mom, you're talking differently, or Mom, you're doing things differently, or why are you going out tonight and getting a sitter for it? Mom's trying on different things. I'm going to give a speech tonight, son. Like stuff like that. But they will adjust as you adjust. They might just need some reassurance along the way that it's going to be okay.
Yeah. And talk about radiating. I mean, look at you. You're talking about strippers and all this, but you have a buttoned up shirt. You got a collar.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty conservative myself. I tend to be more on the right side of this. I mean, I was a Mennonite after all.
Right, right. But your joy and your being just radiate out of your face, Tammy.
Yeah.
So I think that's really, yes, that really impacts.
And that is possible. It really is possible for everyone. And I'm preaching to women because I'm a woman. But I think men, it's the same thing. They have to find their own place of pride and power too.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's just not my wheelhouse.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So other than walking with your head a certain way, like, do you have a few tips that you could give our audience for the women and maybe some different examples?
Yeah, and I'm going to use physiology because, body positioning, because it's sort of one of the ways it's very easy to demonstrate, obviously.
Okay.
I'm glad you brought this up because one of the easiest things you can do is to think about being expansive. So you noticed that you said that you thought I looked like I was radiating. Well, if you notice my body motions, I trained myself to I'm only 5'4".
Oh, really?
And yeah, but I always think about keeping my body tall and wide. Now, I don't mean like stiffening up. I mean staying relaxed, but staying as tall and as wide. Taking up energetic space is the bottom line. And when I'm interacting, even with you on the computer right here like this, rather than face to face, I just feel this sensation sort of coming out from my solar plexus, which is let's have a little fun together.
Yeah, good. I'm all about fun.
Yeah.
Are all about fun.
Now, straight from my everyday Femessence class, which is the class that used to be teaching striptease, which I've now morphed into more of like everyday application. But when I taught striptease, I used to actually tell the women to envision that they have a rope coming from their midsection and reaching over to the middle of the person they were walking towards. And you just sort of, you feel as though you're pushing or pulling away from that person to adjust the energy that you want. That's how we keep things playful. And it keeps, when you're having a conversation, it keeps people slightly off center because they stay engaged and interested and like, what's she gonna do next? So that's the playful edge to the power. Eye contact. I always try to maintain a comfortable sense of eye contact, but it lets you know that you're being heard. And it lets you know that I care. And that, again, it's powerful, but it's a more feminine way of being powerful. You know what I mean?
I totally know what you mean. I mean, talking about the yin and the yang, I mean, I talk about Feng Shui in my time management all the time. So that yin power, I think that's something that the men have it too, of course, but the women really have a strong proclivity towards that. And it's learning how to use that yin power that's very soft. I mean, even when I'm working with my husband, I come from that place, like and then eventually, I mean, something came up today. He wanted a paper on the desk. I didn't want a paper on the desk. And we're just kind of laughing about it. And he said, so when I'm gone, you're just going to do whatever you want to do with it anyway, right? Which is to put it in the round file. And I go, yeah, you're right. Just kind of playing with him about that. And then he starts laughing. I mean, I wasn't going to argue. I wasn't going to like make a huge deal out of it. It's a piece of paper. Come on. But I think women can train to come from that soft space and learn kind of how to play with that and learn how to.
Totally.
I mean, tons of women all around the world get their own way doing that, but.
Well, that's just it. There is an art to it. What you were describing is persuasion. It's not a control over another person, and that's definitely not what I'm trying to teach or influence in people. I don't think that will get you anywhere in the long run. to have control over other people. But if you can find that feeling in yourself, which is that persuasive little part, that I think is powerful. And then if you have time, do you have time for just one more little?
Lots of time. Go for it.
Good. So if you want to have a mental tip, one of the first things we do in the program is to actually identify your top 3 core characteristics. So what makes me me? And the reason we narrow it down to 3 is because our brain, especially during times of stress, like if you're walking into a business meeting or a dinner party and you're nervous, your brain can't really remember more than 3 things at the time. But this helps you remind yourself what your traits are. What makes you great about me? So I will often be like, I'll take a deep breath. I will think about staying tall and wide. I just try to remind myself to stay in my body rather than only in my head. Yeah. The only things I want in my head are I'm courageous, enthusiastic, and whatever, my third thing is. But courageous and enthusiastic and happy, whatever. And that's how I enter nearly every situation, especially if I'm calm or upset about it. And it's like, here's my offering to the world. Here's my offering to this situation. Courage, enthusiasm, happiness. And it's so much better than entering with a hi and looking away and not, it's bringing your own best self forward despite your own fears, because we're going to have them. There's tricks to work through. And one of the things I found revealing about when I did the program myself, because I stumbled upon this, I went out and I asked, and this is step 2 or part of step 1, but the second exercise, you do this for yourself. So you come up with your possible 10 things, core characteristics, and then you go out and you ask other people, okay, trusted friends and family, what would you say are my 10 top attributes? Well, it's funny because courageous and enthusiastic are my 2 top ones. And what came out from my friends and family was that they consider me calm. Now, I never would have labeled myself as calm, because if you could get in my head, I'm going a million miles a minute. But when I'm in my best self, I am that woman we can get all this done. This is how we're going to do it. And everyone else comes off with a sense of calmness about me. And I've seen that happen to women time and time again. We don't even recognize our own brilliance. Because I'm a busy person, I never thought I could be calm at the same time. And the gift they gave to me in that moment when they revealed that, it was life-shifting. So again, I think there's a lot about women that we've shut down out of fear, shame, or embarrassment, and we need to bring it back up to the surface, your strengths, and make it happen for you, because when you bring that to the world, you're going to have more purpose, you're going to have more passion, and by damn, you're going to have more power, but be playful about it.
Yeah, because we don't want to control anybody, for sure. Who would ever want that responsibility? But I love that you're talking about values. You may or may not know from my work with time management. I mean, that's with the Feng Shui, it just makes it a different form of time management. I'm always talking about bringing in that yin as well. But the first place I have my clients go is, what are your top 3 values?
Nice.
So I think really whatever aspects we're doing in our life, whether it be time management or Femessence, knowing who we are, just taking even those few minutes, and figuring out those values, everything just becomes, well, with time management, everything becomes so much easier.
Yes.
I mean, I haven't spent that much time on my business recently, because I've had other values come up for me, like my family. So whereas that could be a really frustrating experience. I mean, I got to the point where I was actually 600 emails behind. I mean, I was kind of scanned and looked for the super important ones. I may have missed one or two, but it didn't make it a frustrating experience. I mean, there was a yearning to kind of, let's go take care of this.
Because you were feeling the balance was slightly out of shape, but you know yourself well enough. Your big whys. Yeah,
but I knew that with my daughter having a new baby, with my dad about to go into another, realm, that those were the things that it just gave me this sense, right? It just gave me this sense of groundedness, like, okay, I'm doing what's important.
Your wisdom.
So I think that's beautiful that you have your clients just look at their values and figure out. So before we wrap all this up, tell people how they can find you. Tell us about we still have time. Tell us about your programs coming up. We're going into a brand new year. So tell us all about that.
Yeah, well, I'm very excited. Number one, I'll just tell you, my website is my name. It's TammyLeitzel.com, and it's TammyLeit, T as in tiger, Z as in zebra, EL.com. I think if you do a search for Femessence, it should come up too. It's 1M, 2 S's, Femessence. And I'm excited because I am launching the online version of the Femessence program. I've been doing it live all of this time and perfecting it, but I now recorded some instructional videos and got it all packaged into a format that just this week became way more professional than it had been. You know how you're struggling. I went through beta testing, got some great feedback from the people who tried the first version. And then this week, all of a sudden, it kind of fell into place. So I'm working diligently to get that up and running. I always do everyday Femessence, which are their workshops around the Philadelphia area. I'm hoping to expand.
Oh,
and
great.
Yeah, it's a lot of that physiology and how you hold yourself and how you talk. It's so that we can put it into practical use. And there is some spillover from the when I used to do workshops on teaching women how to do a striptease down to their exercise clothing. So we definitely do some hip opening and getting your feminine energy stirring. So that's everyday Femessence. And
you said you do that every day in Philadelphia?
No, not every day. Oh. I just call it everyday Femessence. So it's like a woman will be like, okay, I have a business meeting. How can I use it? There are practical applications for nearly every part of your life. That's what's exciting about it. And when a woman goes, I can turn on my power for this particular situation, it's pretty fun to see the light bulb go on. So I do that, and I always do privates. That's really that's been my bread and butter lately. I have a lot of women who don't want to work in a group. They do a lot of private stuff. They want to talk things through one-on-one. So I can do that face-to-face, or I have been doing it just like we're doing today. And the good part about that is you get lots of one-on-one, and you really get to talk through what brought me to this place and where do I want to be, so that you can shed and move on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to wrap it up here, but I just want to tell you thank you so much for sharing your time and your wisdom with us, Tammy. And we will look forward to chatting again soon, right after this recording. Stay on a couple minutes and we can chat. So folks, this is Karen from Gaijin Works Coaching, your productivity coach, and we'll see you again next time. Okay, bye. Ciao for now.